I brought everyone I could find. Every freedom fighter, every war junkie, every soldier of fortune. Throughout the world, Cascadia has become a beacon of rebellion against the Federation. And for that, I have gathered an army. They're no Sicario, but it's the best we've got. And the rebels will take everything they can. At first, when taking this job, I thought it was only business. That I could find my glory here. But after all they've done, what they did to us, to Sicario, only blood will pay for this contract now.
We intended to keep the blockade going for at least a month to drain the Federation defenders, but circumstances have forced our hand. We are moving on Presidia today.
Listen up. This is it.
With the supply lines cut and the blockade holding against any reinforcements, Presidia is the final Federation stronghold in Cascadia. Once it falls, Cascadia will be liberated. The city has been deeply entrenched against both land and air attacks. The firepower which exists there now is the sum of any units that have survived this long into the war. With no way out, their only chance at survival is to fight. We intend to meet them and then end them outright. The operation to take back Presidia will be separated into 4 cardinal parts: land, air, sea, and endgame. All combat operational ground forces will be pushing into Presidia from inland, surrounding the enemy forces. From there, they will start dismantling the resistance and taking control of the city. At sea, the eminent domain will be moving in toward the shore to provide gunnery support and wipe out the remaining naval defenders. Overhead, the last of the Federation air power and country will be out trying to inflict as much damage on the IF as possible. Once these factors are accounted for and our forces are in position, the final phase will commence. We will start moving into the city toward the port to wipe out the Federation from Cascadia once and for all. Hitman team, you are among our most veteran elements among the Independence Force. You will be our spearhead. It is by your attacks that the offensive will conduct itself. Choose which element of the battle you want to take on and in what order. We're still trying to gather last-minute reinforcements ourselves, and scavenging what the Federation has left behind, but without your support, it will not be enough. We don't know how this battle will be won, but it ends in the complete and utter devastation of either us or them. Cascadia is our home, and Presidia is its heart. The flag that flies over it at the end will decide all of our fates.
I mean, they're calling it Operation Manifest Destiny. I'm calling it Operation Siege of Farbanti, like 8.0 or so. How many times has the capital of Erusia been invaded and destroyed and taken over and, like, just saying. Lots of air targets, lots of ground targets. Let's hope we can afford a super plane. Probably not. But we gotta hope. We gotta hope after that big payday, hopefully, we can afford a super plane. We got 122 shekels, 122,000 shekels. Alright, so we know the Su-37 is gonna be pretty much all air. The J-20 is mostly anti-air. The Chimera definitely seems to be more of a multi-role. It has a lot of options. If I were to sell... Chat, we gotta do some quick maths. If I sell the Su-27, that's about 50k. And if I sell the F-15, that's another 150k. So roughly 200k is what we can get if I sell the planes that we have left. With the shekels that we have, we might be able to get the meme plane. So you know what I'm gonna do, chat? I'm gonna put it to you guys. I'm gonna put it to you guys. I'm gonna let y'all vote. Don't think you can sell your last plane. I mean, we still have the trainers, so we still have the Frogfoot as well. So let's see, which plane are we gonna buy is the question. Let's see, we got the Su-37. We got the, got the J-20. And then we got the meme plane. There you go, chat. The poll is up. Make your decision now. Now is the time. We can afford... So we can afford the Chimera, and if we can afford the Chimera, we can basically afford anything else. So now is the time. Again, democracy only works if you engage with it, so now is the time to put in your votes. Either we can take the Su-37, we can take the J-20 or the J-20 and look-alike, or we can take the meme plane, the 4chan plane. I mean, it seems to be overwhelmingly in favor of the Chimera, the meme. So, again, there's a lot of you in chat. I don't see a lot of votes. It's entirely up to you. If you have designs other than 4chan plane, now's the time. Let your voice be heard. I mean, unless the rest of chat is about to come alive and either tie this up, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that the Chimera is gonna win it. I mean, again, a lot of people could potentially tie it up, but I don't see it happening. I don't think it's gonna happen. Yep, I think it's safe to call it, chat. It's gonna be the meme plane. Alright, so let's sell the Super Eagle. That doesn't give us enough. So unfortunately we are gonna have to sell the Flanker as well. But that will give us enough for the Chimera. There we go. Alright, what do we got? We got rapid, medium, heavy gun pods. We got anti-ship missiles. We got all the missiles, all the air-to-air missiles. Good lord. Alright, I mean, if you're gonna give me heavy gun pods, I have to take heavy gun pods. It's a requirement. Let me see. Somebody snuck in a very last second meme vote. I mean, gotta do it for the memes, chat. Gotta do it for the memes. I mean, I'm tempted to, let's go with the semi-actives, and then, okay, so we've got more Mavericks, and we've got some unguided large. I mean, they're calling it a lot of ground targets, but I feel like the Mavs are just the better choice overall. Again, that fire and forget is super useful. What do you think, chat? Bombs or Mavericks? I mean, I have gun pods for the ground, but who says I'm just gonna use them on the ground? But it does seem like most people are in favor of the Mavs, so we're gonna go with the Mavs. Let's do it. Alright, chat, here we go. Meme plane is a go. Let's make it hot. fuck does that mean?
Do not count days. Do not count miles. Count only the number of Feds you have killed. Go!
My man is a little salty right now.
To what area you think you can take on first and engage? Diplomat, engaging. Incoming engaging.
My man is very salty.
Here we go. Hitman 1 engaging. Monarch, take Presidio. Prepare for Crystal Kingdom. Presidio must hold. If it does, this world will not be lost.
I feel like this one doesn't have as much pep in its step as the F-15, unfortunately. I'm definitely, like, almost immediately, I'm feeling the difference in the maneuverability and the speed. Oh yeah? Oh right, I got him on a different button this time. I was looking for my semi-actives, but I got a gun pod on that button right now. I want the other target, please. There we go. Warning. Again. Again! Ow! Ow! That's one railgun out of the way. Whoops, didn't quite get the lock on that one. My bad. My bad. Give me the fucking target. Thank you. Mission update. Okay. Oh. This boy can take a missile and keep on ticking. But I got the guns too. I got the guns too. And bingo! Also, I'm still getting shot at by a railgun, and that makes me unhappy. Where the fuck is it coming from? Oh, well. In that case, this is what the gun pods are for. Yep, that's the thing that'll happen. That's another one down, but we're taking a lot more damage than I'd like. Get there. Get there, baby. There we go. Alright, back to the gun pods. Let's see if we can take out this other big bitch. Again, my mans is getting a little fucking evil genius right now. I feel like the boss is getting way too into this whole, like, We gotta kill the fence thing. Dude is holding some grudges, I feel like. Dicks! Wow. We should have sheared the wing off of that thing right about now, but we didn't. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Yeah, I gotta say, so far, meme plane is not great. At least, not compared to the F-15 in terms of maneuverability. Like, the F-15 active is super maneuverable. Like, it's very, very nimble. Then again, is the meme plane shit on purpose? Is that the meme? Did I just put the game on hard mode without realizing it? Alright, you wanna dance? Let's dance. Look, chat, I'm inverted. Sure, I'll just fucking randomly launch Mavericks at every ground target I can see. Alright, my man's way out there and he's running away. Time for the semi-active. Oh, okay, we got you anyway. Alright. Time to nut up. We got more big bitches. Meme plane is built for Maverick spam, even more than the frog foot. Good to know. Good to know. I feel like that was an acceptable gun run. She's a tanky bitch. And my people are gonna come in and snake that kill right out from under me, because they always do. I do all the work and then they come in and do all... Yep, there you go. They fucking shot that bitch right out from under me. God damn it. I hate that. Like, I literally did all the work and then you just fucking killed the thing.
Monarch, good luck.
That's another one down. I mean, I might be getting 90% of the kills, Erst, but I want the kills on the big money targets. Like, if I'm gonna do all the work on the big money targets, I wanna actually get the one part of it that's worth the most. Go into the darkness. Oh, you made a mistake. You made a huge mistake. Oh, come on. Come on. God damn it. There we go. That did it. So we're gonna have a boss fight? I got a feeling we're gonna have a boss fight. Nope, we're gonna have a boat fight. Let's have a boat fight, Chad. We're gonna have a boat fight.
Ground asset knocked out.
Listen to it groan. Listen to the airframe complain. She is not happy. She is not fucking happy. My God. No, I don't think so. How about now? Is that good enough, motherfucker? I have no idea what just happened there. Unfortunately, we are taking significant amounts of fire. Let's let him get out from under the bridge. Good God. I'm gonna let him get out from under the bridge before I start throwing Mavericks at him so that the Mavs don't immediately crash into the bridge. There we go. Good tone, good tone. Ow. Y'all can cut that shit out whenever you want. Give it a rest. Give it a rest. Thank you, Perez. Thank you, Perez. Really certain this wasn't made for ultra-low altitude strafing runs. I don't think most planes are built for ultra-low altitude strafing runs, but if you can't smell the dirt, then are you really flying? Like, I want to be able to smell the dirt. Can I lock on to the target that is directly in front of me, perhaps? Running low on the gun pod ammo, but I'm alright with that. Let's pull back, and we'll throw out some more Mavs. There we go. Okay, so that's all on the other side. Good to know. Good to know. Oh, we got real close. We got real close. I think we burnt the paint on that one. We definitely charred the paint. Last target, let's see if they snake it from me. They did not. How about that? Is this the Pearl Harbor mission? No, this is Siege of Farbanti 2.0. And bingo? 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 Bingo! Man, what I wouldn't give for some multi-lock missiles at this point. I don't think I'm gonna be able to hit that target. Oh shit, I did. Nice. I figured that target was screened in the building. No, there we go. Again, my mans is way too into this. Like, there's clearly something that he's not telling us.
The attack has begun. All units, link to my IFF network for the ground assault. This is gonna get messy.
Ow. Surely I won't crash into a building. Oh, ye of little faith. I'll promise you this. I'm not gonna crash into a building on purpose. I will do it out of criminal negligence, though.
Missile away.
Well, I almost took out that whole flight of choppers. Let's see if I can pick up the spare. Looks like I can indeed. And we got an artillery piece out here. Let me go deal with that. Since for whatever reason everybody is not doing that. Oh, yeah, okay, so that's a screen target. But you're not screened from above. We're all out of Mavs. I still got some semi-actives. There we go. There's another flight of choppers down. When did the Davians show up? Listen. When you spend as much time fighting the Fed sons as I do, you learn to appreciate the value of a good autocannon. I can't help what I am. I've said before, I'm a shooter. I like to shoot. I can't help it. Been trying to retire the Warthog for 20 years. I mean, listen, when we come up with a platform that does its job better, yeah, then we'll replace it. Until then, and Troubleshooter gifting a sub to Lomax, first time chatter in the stream. First of all, good to see you, Lomax. Thanks for joining us. And second of all, thank you, Troubleshooter, for the gifted sub. And of course, to Lomax, welcome to the cult of bad tactical decisions, where we have only one flavor of Kool-Aid, but it's Zecto Cooler.
Never come back. Set up positions. Hitman team, we have IDs on remaining targets in Presidia. Kill them all. What? Oh, hold on a second. Too little, too late, damn it. All units cease engagement immediately. This is Independence Force HQ, representing the free and civil government of Cascadia. All active units, stand down. I repeat.
Are we gonna get a boss fight now?
Engaged. Cease fighting immediately. I have conflicting orders from above. What's going on? All Federation military forces operating within the territory of Cascadia are to stand down and evacuate. This is an order from your Prime Executive, effective immediately. I'm getting a transcript. Hold on. Let's see, the parties participating in a neutral
There you go. Galaxy. Galaxy's the real hero out here.
We can't possibly expect everyone to stop. I'm less than 10 yards away from hostile infantry. What am I supposed to do? All units stand down.
Tiger, what are you supposed to do? You're on the radio. Throw your fucking gun down, stupid. That's what you're supposed to do.
Embassy, wave everyone down. I'll be damned if I let any spies through. Is that it? Is the war over?
Like, when you're the aggressor and you surrender, most of the time they're gonna let you live, especially when they've been calling for you to surrender the entire war.
Harbor for surrendering Federation units. They will be transported out by sea. If you want to survive, get to the harbor. Throw down your guns and run. Anyone who's wearing a Federation tag will be taken as a prisoner. I don't like this. We've all been blue-balled. All units, stand by. Let them know who won this war. A flag right next to them. What's our exit? All units stand by. Maintain presence over Presidia as the Federation makes their exit. Stand by. All units, just hold on.
That sounds like a boss fight, chat.
Flags are going off. Whoever doing this better cease fire. The war's off.
Yep. Sounds like a boss fight to me.
Heads on a swivel. Now. All of us. We've been spiked. Forward vector. On bogey dope. Contact. Faded. Garcia, break.
I don't know where they're coming from. Are they coming from space? Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. We have achieved orange for a second time, chat. We have achieved orange. Mission over. Is it though? I guess it is. Yeah, Mexico filter on. I didn't know we had been in Mexico the whole time. Is the city supposed to be glowing? I mean, I don't know that anybody has stared directly into the abyss after what is supposed to be like even stronger than a nuclear explosion. But we did make almost 32,000 shekels, Jet. I mean, we got a plane. We got a super plane. But we did get some shekels. Yeah, hi Ronan, bye Ronan. Oh, it is a boss fight. They're just giving us a checkpoint.
You're slaves to history. Even after calamity, you fight against the only order that can guarantee the safety of your people. You solely are responsible for this.
Alright, I'm not gonna fight you. I am not gonna fight you down low. You know what? You know what? You know what? Given the way we had to fight this motherfucker last time, I'm glad I brought the gun pods.
1,000 times before your body's dug up.
I'm glad I brought the gun pods.
We can't hide. You made this decision long ago. We can't back out of this deal.
I mean, you're just gonna pull bullshit this whole time. I already know this.
I'm Cascadian. You gotta take Joey
I already know you're gonna pull your bullshit maneuvers. Yep. The second I start putting some damage on him, he then immediately reverses course and direction. We got the first health bar, chat.
I can't keep up. I can't.
Oh. Oh no. I think. Yeah. I think we made Priz have a nap. I think we made Priz have a nap. Yep. Oh my. Oh, okay, that's not cool. You and your fucking bullshit space laser. Not cool. I don't... What the fuck are you even doing? He is trying desperately to sink me into the clouds. Honestly, chat, I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like we don't have the right plane for this fight. I definitely feel like we don't have the right plane for this fight. Because this feels a whole lot more like an attacker, and what we desperately need is an air superiority fighter. Did you know that we're under a missile alert? Where are you? I mean, we're still getting them. I've basically just resolved to fighting this dude with guns because I already know what this fucking plane is capable of doing, and I know that there's no point in trying to shoot missiles at the motherfucker because he's just gonna immediately dodge them with his super bullshit. So I'm just like, you know what? We're doing this fight with guns. We're doing it with guns. That's round 2. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. Come on, baby, get there. Get there. Oh no! What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that, chat? As if things weren't bad enough, he's shooting bullshit bubbles now? Oh my good Lord Jesus. What the hell, chat? I don't know if the plane's gonna last long enough. I mean, I can take some hits, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to take enough hits. I mean, he is desperately trying to go nose to nose with me. He really wants that head-on collision. Ah, fuck me. I don't know what that is, Chad. I don't like it. I heard you like missile warnings. I mean, we're so close. We're so fucking close. I just gotta get on his ass again. There we go. There we go. Chad? Chad? This isn't even his final form? This isn't even his final form. Wait, I'm a boss now? I mean, I know I'm a boss. Ow. Can I get anything approaching an angle on this piece of shit? Because he just keeps throwing out the bullshit right in my path every time. Like, I can't even come around on this dude. Because he's just, like, he's throwing damage in my path. Okay, there we go, there we go. There was some good damage. That was some good damage. There we go. Clipped him with the guns. Clipped him with the guns.
Monarch, you give us up there. When the storm comes for you, remember me.
Remember me, he says before then fucking further committing genocide. Jesus Christ. This dude must have got a bulk discount at War Crimes or us. Good lord. I have no idea what you said, Erst. I can't click out of the window where it's gonna kill the sound. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know your fucking name. This is very much the epitome of a one-sided relationship where he's like, oh, you're my rival, I'm gonna shoot you down, I'm gonna make this all about you, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't even know your fucking name. Cascadia is in ruins. The war has been won. The deal will be honored. Well, you know, to their credit, at least they gave me credit for shooting him down all 4 times. Well, there we go, chat. Looks like we have beaten the campaign for Project Wingman. I will say this. I will say this about the story. 1, it's just as anime as an Ace Combat game. However, the last boss fight at the end doesn't really hit as hard because you don't know who this guy is. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to build a rivalry like you typically get in Ace Combat games, and more specifically in Ace Combat 4 with Yellow 13. But here's the problem. Here's why it doesn't work. Because in Ace Combat 4, you get both sides of the story. Because you have the narrator in the illustrated cutscenes telling you what's going on with Yellow Squadron and Yellow 13 specifically. So you see his side of the story, you just don't see it through gameplay. So when you build this rivalry with the Yellow Squadron and eventually with Yellow 13, it's not just this one-sided relationship where, you know, you shot down his wingman and then you shot down his whole squadron. Like, you understand what's happening on the other side of the conflict. And because you have that context of both sides, you can understand the impact that the story has. And that's, I think, the biggest failing of this story is because you don't know enough about this guy who apparently is your rival. Like, you don't even really interact with him at all until halfway through the game. Like, Crimson Squadron shows up very early and then they just disappear for half the game. And again, it's very reminiscent of the way that Ace Combat 4 handled Yellow Squadron, where they show up early as this unbeatable force, and then eventually you come back and you take them all down. Well, Urs, to your point, like, I don't think that the game needed to be longer. I think it could have been. But I think what it was lacking in terms of story is that other perspective. Because the cutscenes are just briefings, there's very little story that happens outside the missions. And so if you take it all just at face value, there's not enough there for you to be invested. And that's not, again, this was an indie project. I'm not knocking them. They did an outstanding job. Like, the game is absolutely fantastic. As an Ace Combat fan, as a die-hard Ace Combat fan, Project Wingman is outstanding. Cannot recommend it enough. If you like Ace Combat, play Project Wingman. It is an outstanding game. Right, and that's the thing, Shinigami, is I can forgive the failings of the story because the gameplay is chef's kiss. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The gameplay is the core. And to me, if you're not gonna have good gameplay, you better have a good story and good characters. And if you don't have good characters and good story, you better have good gameplay. Now, Project Wingman has outstanding. Yeah, it would have been better to introduce the bullshit bubbles earlier too. For those to just pop up in the very last fight, it would have been better to have them show up at least once or twice in the campaign as like some experimental super weapon so that you can then say, oh shit, he, like, throw a plane that just throws out one of them. And then you can amp that up in the final boss fight by having him throw out like a dozen of them and you're like, oh shit, this one was hard enough to deal with, now he's throwing out a whole thing of them. So yeah, I mean, again, there were definitely some rough patches, but overall, gameplay is outstanding. And the story is still passable. Like, don't get me wrong, it's copying its homework a lot from Ace Combat, and specifically from Ace Combat 4. But I'm okay with it. Like, Ace Combat 4 was a good game, and it was a good story. That's why it's so fondly remembered as... I mean, most people consider it, if not the best, then one of the best Ace Combat games, because it had that perfect fusion of a good story and excellent gameplay. And they were swinging for the fences. Project Wingman is swinging for the goddamn fences, and they didn't make it, but god damn did they get close. Like, don't get me wrong, if... This is the hit that lands just inside the field, right? This is the one where the outfielder jumps up and catches it, and that's the only thing that stops it from being a home run. Like, it is so good. It is on the edge of that, like, GOAT status, that like, legendary status. And I think if the team came back and did another game like this with what they've learned, honestly, they might be able to outdo Ace Combat. They might be able to outdo Ace Combat if the team came back and made another game and took this and iterated upon it. They got something here. Again, I'm nobody. I'm a random fucking booba streamer on the internet, so my opinion doesn't mean anything, but again, the game was significantly better than I expected it to be. Like, everybody was like, oh, it's just like Ace Combat, and I was like, alright, that's cool. But like I've said from the beginning, this is a game that's not just like Ace Combat, it's made for people who love Ace Combat. And at least as far as I'm concerned, like, I can't speak for everybody, because I know people play games for different reasons. But for them to do what they did and essentially do a lot of quality of life stuff, remove the refuel and the refit, but like improve the sim elements in terms of the way that the aircraft handles, like, it's an outstanding combination. Like I said, you can tell it's a game made by people that have played Ace Combat and love Ace Combat, and they know exactly what they wanted to do different. So, like I said, and I don't do ratings, but if I had to give it a rating, I would easily give this a 9.5 out of 10. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It does have some hiccups with the story, and I think it probably would have been better if they gave you more planes, and if they were a little more transparent about what those planes are actually good at. Like, they do give you stats, but they don't really tell you anything about the plane. So, like, you know, a 9 out of 10, I would say it's almost perfect. It could use work, and I really hope that the team is able to make another game like it. I know Humble has buttoned up, and as a result, you know, the future of all those games might be in doubt, but I really do hope that this team is able to make another Project Wingman game, or something in that vein, because they did an outstanding job. I cannot say enough good things about it. There are cut planes like the A-10, the F-15, the Raphael, the Su-30. Yeah, and it seems like they do have them in the game. I think they just never actually made them playable. And I'm curious as to why that is. I mean, I would think... The only thing I can come up with is that maybe somehow the player aircraft controls differently from the AI. So, like, that's the only reason I can think of that they wouldn't make the planes playable, because, like, if they perform the same, regardless, I can't imagine why they wouldn't make them playable. Oh yeah, for sure, Wars. This game absolutely has an active modding scene. I mean, again, the Frontline 59 DLC came out on PC just late last year, And there are still people updating mods today to get them working with the new anniversary edition of the game. The NPC ones are much less detailed. Ah, that makes a little more sense. So they didn't have the opportunity to do the high fidelity models like you see in the hangar. I mean, honestly, I get that, why you wouldn't ship that in a finished product. So good that the modders were able to suss that out and get those models, you know, get those models and planes working in the game. A10 was just cut. That I believe that just because I didn't even see a contemporary in the game. So it's weird. It's weird, Wasteland, because when we were playing that game, the mission where we ran into the B-52s, and I was like, oh shit, it's the buff, it's the buff. Like, to me, that would have been a perfect mission to have A-10s running attack runs. And I thought it was a little strange. Like, yeah, they had them in the gunship configuration where they were basically the spookies. But to have more, like, they had 4 or 5 of them on that mission, and I was like, that's really weird. Like, you might have 1 or possibly 2 AC-130s, but they would fill in the rest of that CAS role with Frogfoots, with Warthogs, with F-18s kitted out for ground attack. Like, there were a lot of other planes that they could have used in those scenarios. So the fact that they didn't have the A-10 does not surprise me. They have a DLC. Well, to be fair, Eddie, the DLC came out a little while ago, and apparently it was exclusive on the PlayStation for a while, and it was only, like, the DLC coming out late last year was just it finally making it from PlayStation to PC. So yeah, I don't know what this team is doing, if this team even still exists. I really hope they do. Because if this team and this game never goes anywhere else, I mean, don't get me wrong, it will stand as a testament to what devoted fans can do. But man, it would be a fucking tragedy if nothing else ever happens with Project Wingman or its developers. Because this is AAA quality. I'm not even, like, I won't even mince words. We hope your journey through the campaign of Project Wingman has been an enjoyable one. Absolutely has. This game is far from the perfect game, and we acknowledge that. It will have its inherent flaws and shortcomings. However, everyone on the development team is extremely proud with what Project Wingman has become. I'm proud for them. This is a hell of an accomplishment. Sorry, I didn't get to read the whole thing, but, like, that is a hell of an accomplishment. It's the honor of my life that you've taken to the skies as Monarch and become, once again, the King of the Skies. Sincerely, I hope we meet again. Thank you for your continuous support over the past few years of development. I hope the game and its soundtrack brought you as much fun and emotion as it did making them. I guess this is thanks from the big members of the dev team. You guys can't see it, but the trophy is I see no kings up here. That's the trophy for beating the final mission. Yeah, Jose was the guy that did the OST. Yeah, again, this is an outstanding achievement. Like, this is... I think I speak for everyone that has ever kickstarted a game or backed a project or, you know, God forbid, spent their money on Steam Greenlight shit or, you know, put money into a game in early access. Like, I think everybody hopes that when they put their money down on the barest concept, that what they're gonna get in return is something like this. Like, Kickstarter and those types of things, those other type of like backer systems, I think they would be viewed much less suspiciously if the quality of the products that came out of those projects was like this more often than not. And honestly, it kind of makes me sad that I didn't back this game, because I thought about it when I first heard about it way, way back. And I didn't back the game because it was like, it seemed too good to be true. I was like, an indie team trying to take on Ace Combat? Like, I appreciate their ambition and I hope that they succeed, but I just, like, I didn't see them being able to do that, and I was fucking wrong. I will be the first person to sit here and tell you I was wrong. 100% wrong. So, again, outstanding game. And again, we're not done. We're not done. I mean, I'm done for today, Chad. I'm gonna wind down. But we do still have the Frontline 59 campaign that we can play through. So we'll get at least one more stream out of the game before it's all said and done. Might even play some Conquest mode just to see how that goes. Yeah, exactly, Wasteland. Like, it's too... I mean, it makes sense now because they weren't trying to compete with Ace Combat. They were trying to show the world, like, how much they loved Ace Combat. Like, I know some folks have already said, like, this is a love letter to the Ace Combat franchise. It absolutely is. In the most literal definition. Like, this is the dev team saying, this is how much we love Ace Combat. So, yeah. Again, very, very impressed with the game. Very, very happy. Money well spent. Highly, highly recommend it if you're any kind of fan of flight sims, but especially Ace Combat games. Like, if you like those games, you owe it to yourself to pick up Project Wingman. Even if you pick it up on sale. Even if you pick it up on sale. It's outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And this is definitely a game I can see myself playing in my free time. I mean, obviously I don't have a lot of free time these days, but it's a game I can absolutely see myself picking up and playing again with the same nostalgia and love for it that I do when I play Ace Combat 4, when I play Ace Combat 5, right? Like, those older games that I remember fondly, like, this feels like that, but more modern. So, again, good on the dev team, good on Humble for giving him a shot. I am glad that this game exists. Because I feel like the flight sim genre would be lesser without a game like Project Wingman. Because it shows, I mean, I think it shows that if you really love something and you really want to put in the work and the effort, you can absolutely swing for the fences and succeed. So yeah, anyway, and we can go, let me see, new campaign is just going to be a regular campaign, but if we return, yeah, we still got the Frontline 59 campaign that we can play. And again, I do intend to get into that next stream, so we'll get a chance to meet a new squadron and play through a new story. I don't know exactly how long the Frontline 59 campaign is. My understanding is that for some reason the number 6 is standing out in my head, so I think it might be, roughly 6 missions or so. I'm not 100% sure on that. Not 100% sure. So I couldn't tell you how long the campaign's actually going to be. It is it is shorter than, okay, Spookus says it's 6 missions. It is definitely shorter than the main game. So like I said, we might get one more stream out of it unless we decide to play some Conquest, but I'll leave that up to you guys. Yeah, you're not wrong, Wasteland. After the mid-2000s, like, Ace Combat 4 kind of came out of nowhere and created this bubble of like arcadey type of flight sim games, and then no one ever really got close to the crown that Ace Combat held, so the genre sort of died. Like, a lot of people tried to come out with imitators around that time, and they weren't very good. And so everybody was just like, okay, whatever. Namco's got that. There's no point in competing. And there really wasn't. Like I said, I would never have believed that an indie studio would have produced a game of this quality. And again, I am absolutely thrilled that this game exists, because it is an outstanding tribute, not just to Ace Combat, but to, like, flight games in general. It understands why people play games like this. So, anyway, I don't know what we'll do after the Frontline 59 campaign. Like I said, I'll put it to you guys, and maybe we'll do some conquest, maybe not. Maybe we'll move on to the next thing. As I said before, I didn't expect that Project Wingman was going to be a long time. It's kind of just an in-between game while I work on mod lists for other stuff and you know, get things ready for the next big chunk of whatever we're going to be doing. And so far, it has been time and money well spent. So, glad that I got to experience the game so far. I hope you guys have also enjoyed Project Wingman, especially with me going in blind. Like, I knew a little bit about what was going to go on in the game, but I didn't know all the specifics. I hadn't watched, like, a playthrough of it or anything. And I'm glad. Because even though the story isn't necessarily, like, the story isn't Hemingway, it was still fun to be surprised by what was happening. You know, to not go in just knowing everything that was going to happen. Hawks 2 was 2010. Yeah, I remember the Hawks games, and I remember Ace Combat Assault Horizon. Like, to me, Assault Horizon was the front mission evolved of the Ace Combat franchise, and I've talked about that before. I've talked about, let's go to the main screen. No, I don't want to, I want to go back. It's not, I wanted to go back to the main screen, but it's not gonna let me do that. Anyway, I've talked about it before, and some of you are probably familiar with this as well, but there was this period, in the early to mid 2000s, where, like, for whatever reason, I guess because, so if you don't know, the Japanese game development market was very, very insular. And for the longest time, up until the 2000s, it was very, very hard to convince Japanese developers that the Western market was even worth their time. But when the PlayStation 2 came out, and they saw the numbers, when stores were selling out of PlayStation 2s, when you had people fist fighting each other in the streets for these fucking things, and every title that came out, didn't matter what the fuck it was, any title that came out for the PlayStation 2, people just gobbled it up. They could not get enough of it. And that's when the PlayStation, the Sony folks, and Japanese developers in general finally started to realize that the West was this huge untapped market. And what you saw in the early to mid 2000s was this shift in Japanese developers to produce westernized games. And so you had these Japanese studios that had traditionally produced Japanese style games trying to produce games that they thought the Western public wanted. And that's where you get the lamentable, like, really shitty westernized JRPGs that came out around that time, where they were not very good, like installments of classic franchises that just weren't good because they lost their identity. That's when you got, again, Assault Horizon, Ace Combat Assault Horizon, which was garbage. That's when you got Front Mission Evolved, which was also garbage, and thus far has basically killed the franchise. And it's when you start to see these Japanese developers trying to make games that they thought we wanted to play. And it took them a very long time to realize that, like, we didn't want Western games from Japanese developers. We wanted Japanese games from Japanese developers. And I'm glad that we finally got over that hump and the developers went back to to making the games that people actually wanted instead of doing that thing that developers do and making the games that they thought we wanted. And I love to point to games like Persona 3 and Persona 4 as good examples of like a Japanese developer that made a Japanese game, didn't sugarcoat it, didn't water it down, didn't, adjust it for Western audiences. They made a distinctly Japanese product, ported it to English, and people bought it the fuck up. Like, Persona 3 and Persona 4, go look them up on eBay. Look how hard it is to find, like an old school copy of Persona 3, Persona 3 FES, that kind of stuff. Go check those games out and see how hard they are to find. People love those games. Persona 5 is why I got a PS4. I mean, I have said before, I think, and I know this is a controversial opinion, I think Persona 5 is the best Persona game. And you can scream blasphemy if you want, but I think that Persona 5 was the crystallization of the franchise, where 3 was kind of experimental, 4 was like taking 3 and iterating on it. 5, in my opinion, is where the franchise kind of crystallized. Like, it was the game in the series where all of the pieces finally came together and they, like, the developer really clicked and said, this is what we need to do. And I know that's probably going to be a controversial opinion. I mean, everybody that plays Persona games will have their own opinion on what the best Persona game is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that 3 or 4 were bad. They absolutely were not. But I think they were stepping stones to what 5 eventually turned out to be. Like, Persona 3 and Persona 4 walked so that Persona 5 could run. To completely outclass Plane for the final Crimson 1 fight. Yeah, I did. I basically took I took the mean Plane. To be fair, I let chat vote. And I know that there's at least some of them out there that knew what I was getting myself into and voted for that plane intentionally. But not only did I take the dude in a fight in a plane that was ill-suited for it, I also did it without firing a single fucking missile. I took the dude down entirely with guns. Well, and some gun pods. Like, I didn't intend to take gun pods for the final fight, but man, I'm glad I had them when we got to it. Persona 4 hits different because it came out the year I was graduating high school. Yeah, and that's, again, like I said, I'm not trying to say that if you don't like Persona 5 the best, or if you think that Persona 3 or Persona 4 is better, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong. Like, again, like what you like, regret nothing. But at the same time, like, I can explain why I like Persona 4. And if you like Persona 4 because it's like nostalgia and it was like your first Persona game, and that's like me and Final Fantasy VII. I would argue that Final Fantasy VII is the best Final Fantasy, but it's harder for me to argue that because for me it's rooted in nostalgia. It's rooted in, it was the very first like JRPG that I played on the PlayStation era. And so it holds a special place in my heart. It was because I didn't play Final Fantasy VI until after I had played 7. Like, I did play it, I just didn't play it until after. And for me, Final Fantasy VII was a big deal because it was the first time I played a game where it had a story, and it was a story that didn't treat you like a child, and more importantly, it was a story that actually mattered. Because that's not to say that games didn't have story before Final Fantasy VII, but it was the first game for me where I realized games can be more than just wasting idle time. Wasteland says, gotta bounce. Alright, Wasteland Wanderer, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate you hanging out. I promise, we're gonna end the stream here in just a little bit. But you know me, I gotta flap my jaws whenever we finish a game, because I usually do that. But good to see you as always, and have an outstanding rest of your weekend, Wasteland. But like I said, for me, Final Fantasy VII was transformative because it was the first time I realized that games could be more than just like arcade shit, right? Where it could be more than Pac-Man, it could be more than Tetris, it could be more than Ridge Racer, it could be more than Gran Turismo or Call of Duty. Well, Call of Duty is not a good example because shooters weren't really a thing back then. It could be more than Quake, it could be more than Doom, right? Like, games could have a story that you cared about and have characters that you cared about. And again, I fully acknowledge Final Fantasy VII was not the first game to do that, but it was the first game that I played that did that. And so, again, very, very much a transformative experience for me, and I would argue probably the reason that I'm as into games today as I was then. Like, I don't think, maybe I would have come around eventually, but like, I think I am the gamer I am today, that I appreciate the medium and I'm as passionate about it as I am today because of Final Fantasy VII. Because it was the first time in my life that I realized, like, stories could matter and make you feel things. Which was nothing, like, I had never experienced that with a video game before. It was just, go over to your friend's house and play Super Nintendo or play PlayStation for a couple of hours, and then go outside and play in the yard, right? Like, it wasn't a cerebral experience. And I would argue a lot of games are not cerebral experiences anyway. Especially not in the modern era. But those experiences had value. So, anyway, we kind of got off topic, chat. I do that. I get off topic. Grendel is a play off the Grendel Beast from Final Fantasy VIII. Well, I mean, you know that the Grendel Beast itself is then a play off of Grendel from the classic Beowulf, right? Like, I would assume you're aware of the connection there. TSR, why do I feel like I should know what that abbreviation stands for, and I don't? Or, I'm not... My brain is not putting two and two together. What is TSR? Had that with Fortnite. I mean, to be fair, Fortnite was a game and had a story and stuff before Epic was like, actually, we can milk kids for this, like, for V-Bucks. Oh, that TSR. Okay, I thought you were talking about a franchise. Yeah, TSR, the original owners of D&D, that's different. But I thought you were talking about, like, a video game franchise or something. I was like, what is TSR? And Omega Forge rolling in the chat. Good to see you, Omega. Plane flying just about done for today. We actually just got done finishing up the campaign for Project Wingman, and I was summarizing my thoughts and just doing a little bit of a post-game yap with the chat, as I want to do on occasion. Of course, like I said before, for those of you that are just rolling in or that might have missed it before, I will definitely be playing the Frontline 59 campaign. We'll probably do that next stream. So there is still more Project Wingman to come. But, yeah, I'm like in the post-game wind down where we finished, and I was just kind of, going over my thoughts about the game and just games in general. Still reminds me of the old game Air Superiority. I mean, what was it? God, what is the name of the game? Air Combat, which was a game that came out right around the same as Ace Combat, and I feel like it was trying to steal its lunch money, but it didn't. And that's what I always think of. They compare games of D&D models in the late 80s. Did they? Really? Old game Air Superiority was one of those tabletop games like Battletech. See, that's news to me. I was not huge into tabletop or board games when I was younger. Like, again, my dad did get me Battletech, and I really liked Battletech, but like, you know, when you're young, it doesn't occur to you that there's a whole wide world of tabletop gaming out there and you just need to get involved in it, right? Like, you just get the one thing and you're like, oh, this is good and I like that, and then you just kind of latch on to it. Man, Dark Sun. Don't even get me started. Dark Sun, man, that was peak edgy, like late 80s, early 90s, Mad Max meets Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I'm sad that Dark Sun didn't really go anywhere in the modern era. I would love to play a Dark Sun. Like, give me a Dark Sun Baldur's Gate 3. Because, like, that whole Mad Max, like, it was doing grimdark before 40K made it popular. Anyway, chat. It's been over 6 hours. We finished up our campaign. I think it's about time we went back to the office. You think? We'll go back to the office, we'll wrap up the stream. Actually, let me exit out of, there we go. Exit out of Project Wingman. You and I both know exactly why there will never be a Dark Sun modernization. Not from Wizards of the Coast. I mean, that's fair. Like, again, Dark Sun was a product of its time. But as Wizards increasingly kind of, I guess, infantilizes D&D, like, don't get me wrong, I think it's good that they're trying to make D&D for everyone. Right? Like, they're trying to make it a game that anyone at any age can pick up and play, and you can be as mature or as juvenile with the themes as you want to be. And that's good. Like, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a very good thing that Wizards is trying to bring more people into D&D and the hobby. With that being said, I would argue, and I'm sure there are some of you that will agree and some of you that won't, I would argue that things like Critical Role and all the stuff that they have done, and a lot of the other content creators within the D&D sphere, not to mention Baldur's Gate 3 and all the hype in the years that it was in early access and development, like, those, I think, were bigger contributors to the boom that we're seeing in Dungeons & Dragons today than anything that Wizards of the Coast has done. Like, Wizards has tried to make the game palatable for all audiences, but people like Critical Role and Larian Studios are what have made it, like, pop into the mainstream consciousness. Like, I have some friends of mine, my roommate and his wife, have never played D&D in their life, have no desire to play D&D, and yet they sit down to watch every fucking episode of Critical Role. They sit down in their living room, put their computer, hook it up to the TV, and watch every single episode of Critical Role because they absolutely love watching other people play D&D. And that's the thing, is like, if you had told me 20 years ago, hell, if you had told me 10 years ago that regular-ass people would sit down and watch people play D&D in the same way that we used to sit down and watch episodes of The Simpsons, I would never have believed you. I would never have believed that people would be sitting down to watch D&D with the same regularity and the same investment that they did watching their favorite TV shows a decade ago. Like, it's insane to think that that's even a thing today. And it's a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. Well, troubleshooter, you're not alone. Like, there's a lot of people I know whose only exposure to Dungeons and Dragons has been through video games. Whether that be the old Baldur's Gates or, Neverwinter Nights, Icewind Dale, that kind of stuff. Like, that's the only exposure they ever had to D&D. And I also know people who played those games back in the day and enjoyed it so much that that's what got them into tabletop D&D. Because once they found out that there was like a whole tabletop game that those games were based on, they were like, oh shit, I can run my own campaigns. And it became a whole thing. So like, I think any contribution to the medium is a good one. It's just not everybody makes those contributions for the right reasons. And like I said, I think fans and content creators have done more to grow the Dungeons & Dragons brand in the last 5 to 10 years than anything Wizards has done. And I know that Wizards is a controversial company and they make a lot of controversial decisions. Personally, I don't have a dog in the race. Like, I don't play all that much D&D anymore, and when I did, it was mostly 3.5. Like, I stopped playing D&D on the regular back when 4th edition came out, and, there was the big schism in the fan base about, oh, well, 3.5 is better, no, 4 is better, and just, people constantly bitching and moaning and whining whenever you didn't play the system that they thought was better. And that's honestly what kind of got me out of playing D&D. Was like, I got so fucking tired of listening to people bitch and bitch and bitch and bitch about whatever edition you were playing. I was just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna play the game anymore. Because I don't want to have this argument every single time I sit down to play a game where at least one fucking grognard at the table is going to be like, oh, 3.5 is better. It doesn't matter. We're not playing 3.5. So anyway, like I said, that's part of the reason that I kind of stopped playing D&D on tabletop. Were your parents worried about you becoming a devil worshiper? I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to say my parents left me in a dumpster, but they came pretty fucking close. My foster family did not give a shit at all. Like, whatever I was interested in, they wanted me to be happy. So, like, if I was playing D&D and I was happy playing D&D, as long as it wasn't interfering with my life and my school and the things that, like, I needed to do, they didn't give a shit. Like, they didn't care that I would rather play video games in D&D than go stand around in a little groupie circle in the mall and laugh at dumb shit like all the rest of the girls my age. Like, they didn't care. As long as I was, my grades were good and I wasn't getting in trouble and I wasn't doing anything illegal, they didn't really care. And I appreciate them for that. Because it let me explore the hobbies that I enjoyed instead of being forced to pick up hobbies and interests that I didn't really have an interest in. Well, BLM, you say that. I have run many a game. I often say I'm like the forever GM. Like, there was a certain point where I realized that I had a creative flair and I enjoyed creating worlds and campaigns and things like that. And so I kind of just became the forever GM for whatever game we were playing. So I have run a lot of D&D games. I've run a lot of Shadowrun games. For a little while there, I was running games of Lancer. And I know, some people are immediately going to wrinkle their nose at Lancer, but I like it. I think it's an outstanding mech combat game. Ernst says, 3rd edition of Shadowrun's better than 4th, but 5th edition Shadowrun's actually good. So here's the thing, and I've said this before about Shadowrun. Like, I learned to play Shadowrun in 4th edition. And yeah, it absolutely has its problems. But I honestly prefer 4th edition. At least as far as rules. Now, to be fair, I also haven't played 5th edition all that much. I think I played like 1 game of 5th edition. But I learned the game in 4th edition. I will say I prefer 4th edition as a setting as compared to where Shadowrun has gone now. Because I felt like 3rd and 4th edition Shadowrun were that good mix of like cassette futurism and like retro futurism where 5th edition and 6th edition have tried to go more in like a contemporary future setting, and I just don't like it. Like, for example, when you look at Cyberpunk, whether you're talking about the tabletop setting or the video game, like, Cyberpunk does a very good job of that, like, this is what the 80s thought the future was going to be like. As opposed to, you know, where... And that's the thing about what I don't like about Shadowrun is that, like, starting with 5th edition, they started doing this thing where it was like, they started saying, well, this is what the future's gonna be like compared to where we are now, but, like, they never retconned the timeline. And so you had this world where, like, every 2 or 3 years, the entire internet had to explode and the whole world basically collapsed and blah, 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 so that they could come up with some other bullshit excuse for why technology had suddenly taken this giant leap forward so that it would look more like what we think the future would look like. Whereas Cyberpunk has always kind of just kept that, you know, the timeline diverges before the 80s, but, like, the main event was based in, like, that cassette futurism of the 80s. And again, Cyberpunk as a setting does a much better job of encapsulating that feeling of Cyberpunk as opposed to, I mean, if you want more of a contemporary Cyberpunk, look to stuff like Deus Ex. Deus Ex is a good example of that. Whereas, you know, I think Shadowrun and Cyberpunk kind of embodied that older idea of the future, that Blade Runner futurism. Is that an orc in a suit? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, Shadowrun basically said, what if Cyberpunk, but also D&D? That is essentially how Shadowrun came to be. Where they were like, we want to do Cyberpunk, but we also want to keep, like, we want to do it in a traditional fantasy way. And so we need to come up with this whole, and, like, they went the extra 9 yards in Shadowrun to come up with all the different history and, like, why there are fantasy races in what is ostensibly supposed to be modern, contemporary United States or the rest of the world. So, like, they went the extra mile in trying to explain it. It was still goofy as shit. But they didn't just hand wave it and be like, oh yeah, elves and orcs exist now. Crunchy ass rules. Yeah, and that's the thing about Shadowrun though. And it's honestly, it's part of the reason that I prefer games like BattleTech to Shadowrun. So BattleTech, and we've talked about this before, BattleTech is also a very, very crunchy setting and rule set, but it's modular. Like, the game is only as chunky as you want it to be. And it's very much balanced to have these modules that you, like, either put in or take out based on how chunky you want the game to be. Shadowrun never really did that. Like, its rules are just chunky, and they're very, very chunky all the way through. And you either deal with that or you don't play the game. Like, yeah, if you have a really good DM that's willing to sit down and come up with ways to streamline the rules and trim out some of the stuff that is maybe a little extraneous while at the same time keeping the balance. Because that's the problem, is the reason that Shadowrun is so crunchy is because it's also a balancing nightmare without a lot of those extra things involved. And so if you have a good DM that is willing to like figure out how to keep the balance and keep the play dynamic while also removing some of that crunchy rules, it can be a lot of fun. But Shadowrun is definitely either you accept the rules as they are or you don't play, because it's very, very hard to play with only a small chunk of the rules. BattleTech Advanced Rules. What if BattleTech but also more physics and Microsoft Excel? Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing. Like I said, that's why I like BattleTech, because it's a very modular system. And if you want to play a really simple version of the game, it absolutely supports that. If you want to play a super crunchy version of the game, with, you know, combined arms tactics and logistics and, you know, fucking hit dice for every single individual shot, and spread, and gravity, and curvature of the planet. And like, if you want to play that crunchy of a game, BattleTech will absolutely support it, if that's what you want to do. But you never have to play with those rules. They're all optional. And the game works just fine if you take them out. And that's what I like about BattleTech. Only ever played a couple Shadowrun games on tabletop, and the guy who set it up had it set as courier missions in Seattle. I mean, to be fair, I think a good courier mission or milk run is the best way to introduce people to the Shadowrun setting. And more importantly, I mean, I think I posted this in the Discord once upon a time, but there's like this infamous post on from 4chan where this dude basically just ran a campaign in Shadowrun as an introduction for his players, and the job was just to go to a mall and steal some of the PlayStation 9 or some brand new console that was going to come out. And like, that was the whole mission. Like, there was no secret plot, there was no hidden agenda. It was just some street punk that wanted some consoles that he could scalp. And yet he put in the work in the setting to have like the guard and the faulty security system, and like, these players ended up like burning down the mall, killing a bunch of security guards, getting Lone Star called on them, and causing millions of dollars in damage because they created problems for themselves. Like, they created their own ghosts and then got scared of the ghosts that they had created. And I don't mean that in the sense of like ghosts in the setting. I mean, like, they were jumping at shadows because they kept expecting everything to go wrong. And it was like, no, it was just a very simple smash and grab job that anybody could have done. And it was just meant to introduce the system. And the players ended up having to like fucking go to Europe and hide out for 3 years to get away from the heat and all this. Because, again, they created their own problems. And I think that epitomizes Shadowrun, right? Like, you can take the most mundane shit and turn it into this globe-spanning conspiracy full of intrigue and backstabbing and shit. And it all comes down to the DM. Like, I cannot state this enough. I know I've said this before, and I definitely have a bias because, again, as a forever GM, I am the person who creates the worlds and the stories, and so, again, I am biased. However, if you ever had fun at a table, the chances are, if the DM or the GM didn't have something to do with it, I'll be very surprised. And a good GM that can roll with the punches and can keep things consistent, but also not completely go off the rails with like wish fulfillment and a hilarious increase in the stakes and all that. Like, that's the problem where I've seen some GMs will like, they want to let the players do what they want, but they never have the good sense to like rein in their bullshit. And so they just let them run free and do whatever, and then they end up having to make up a bunch of stuff on the fly, and they do all this extra work, and then they come back to the table for the next session, and the players go off on a fucking tangent again that has nothing to do with all the work that they just spent. And it's like, no, you gotta be able to nudge the characters in a certain direction, but you gotta do it in a way where they're still making decisions and they're still interacting with the world. And like, again, that's the difference between a good table and a bad table, is usually the GM. Like, a good GM can make a bad game or bad players still be fun. But if you have a bad GM, the game is probably gonna suck no matter what you do. Like, you can sometimes salvage games if you have a bad GM, but 9 times out of 10, if you got a bad GM, you're going to have a bad time. And there's not really a whole lot you can do to fix that. So, anyway, that's my rant. That's my rant. Alpha Strike comes close to creating a good BT Light experience, but I feel it's just something that it's lacking. Can't quite put my finger on what it is. I would argue, Kenny, and I've heard that argument before. I would argue that the problem with Alpha Strike, at least for me, where it differs from regular BattleTech, is it's trying too hard to get rid of too much of what makes BattleTech what it is. Like BattleTech has a feel of like a slower, more methodical game. And Alpha Strike tries to turn it into like a quick and easy, yeah, like Earth says. It basically tries to turn BattleTech into Warhammer. And I think that's okay if you're just trying to introduce people to the setting and the concept. Like Alpha Strike is absolutely a great introduction to BattleTech. But it's not what makes BattleTech good, in my opinion, because there's not, other than big stompy robots, like there's not a whole lot that Alpha Strike does that every other skirmish war game doesn't also do. And that's part, like, again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't play Alpha Strike. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you enjoy it. Like, again, play what you want, like what you want. But to me, Alpha Strike is 40K with robots instead of BattleTech. And if you like that, more power to you. Enjoy it. Like, I'm glad that you enjoy it. However, to me, that's not what BattleTech is. Like, BattleTech is a very unique experience in the modern tabletop landscape because most games try to do some derivative of, like, Warhammer's skirmish-based tactics because that's what sells, right? And it's easy to sell your game when you say, well, it's kind of like playing 40K, but really what we want you to do is pay a shitload of money for our overpriced miniatures and rulebook, because that's where they're making their money. Whereas BattleTech has got 40 years of history to draw on, and 40 years of rules to draw on. So, like, they don't need to sell you on a quick and easy version of the game, because that, again, it's not what BattleTech is. But again, it's, like I said, if you like Alpha Strike, continue to enjoy Alpha Strike. Like, do not let me or anyone else's opinion affect how you feel about Alpha Strike. Just know that BattleTech is a much deeper and much more complex setting and rule set if you choose to go that direction. You don't have to, and not everybody has time to sit down and spend 3 hours playing through a game. I get it. I absolutely get it. So, you know, if Alpha Strike works for you, play it, enjoy it. I'm just happy to have more people playing BattleTech. Like, whether you're playing Alpha Strike, whether you're playing Classic, whether you're playing Classic Advanced. I mean, if you're playing with technical readout 30, 32, like, I'm good with that. As long as there's more people playing the game, I'm happy. I'm happy. Anyway, chat, I gotta stop. Chat, I gotta make tacos. And you guys keep bringing up more stuff and keeping me on a roll. And I've been trying to bring this stream to a close for half an hour. And you guys just keep fucking getting me to keep talking about stuff. So I need to go. I gotta make food, chat. I gotta make tacos. So I want to thank you guys for coming to hang out with me on a Saturday. The world is a roller coaster of challenges, and we don't all have a lot of time on this planet. So I appreciate you choosing to spend some of those very, very precious moments that you have left in your life to come hang out with us, to come hang out with me and this community. Again, whether you were here for 5 minutes or 5 hours, I appreciate every single one of those minutes. There's a million places you could have been, a million things you could have been doing, but you chose to spend that time with us, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You don't have to do it, but I appreciate that you did. And here at the end, I want to remind you, like I always do, that your life has value, and that the world is a better place with you in it. Never let anyone tell you otherwise, and I'll see you next time.